UI and UX design is one of the most sought after roles right now in tech. So what makes people go from sending their CV and your portfolio to getting a design interview? Today, we'll talk about the most important things that recruiters look out for in a design portfolio. So as a senior designer who's been in tech for a while now, I've seen the both spectrums of when you have to apply for a job and put in your CV and your portfolio. I've also had to hire for a role either for a project or a full-time position, and I've been with the recruiters to see what we look out for in bringing a designer to a team. Now, the first thing and the most important thing we all look out for is design principles. So when you go through someone's portfolio, you're looking for if they understand typography, the use of buttons, hierarchy, proximity, alignment, everything in all the design principles. And if somebody shows signs that they don't understand them or they don't know how to use them, you instantly look over to the next one. The second thing we look out for is experience. If you're looking to hire a junior designer, you're probably looking out for someone who has good communication skills and okay understanding of the design principles, whereas someone that's a senior designer, you're expecting them to already have good knowledge of design principles. So experience is also good. We like to know the kind of projects that you've worked on, the kind of clients that you've had, the teams you've been on. It's all what we look out for after the core understanding of design principles. The third thing is, what is your niche? So as a designer, you just have to pick a niche you design for. Are you someone that's focused in healthcare, SaaS companies, e-commerce? You have to have this niche. You can have multiple projects in there, but by looking at your portfolio, I should know the kind of things you like designing for, the kind of industries that you're closely related to just from your portfolio. The next thing that we look out for is your process. So a good designer would document their process, document their way of thinking. Questions like, what inspired this project? What is the goal? What did you learn from different iterations? What did you assume at the beginning and that changed towards the end? Where were the biggest challenges? So all these questions should be sort of answered in your case study. When did you do your research? When did you have the final versions? All this is very good. You want to know your story and how you think as a designer is very critical, very important. Sometimes we see a designer just show like the final product and we don't know where they got it from, what the story was for. Any of those questions are not answered, and you would probably want to hire a designer who documents their process over one who doesn't. The next thing is presentation. This is super important, and I've seen a lot of designers get this wrong. They have amazing projects, amazing UI screens, but when they're talking about the project, maybe the copy is not aligned, there's a typography, the font is hard to read. Your presentation also should be designed appropriately. Your designer, everything about you should be presented well. It's super important. And also your communication skills. What kind of words do you use? What kind of images do you use? Whenever you're brought in a full-time position, you have to interact with multiple teams. So being able to present well is a super important skill as a designer. The next thing we look out for is the ability to solve problems. So any design that you create, there was an initial problem that needed to be solved. Maybe it's poor aesthetics, maybe it's something that has to do with navigation. So you should tell us what the problem was. A lot of designers have a problem statement, which is great. And towards the end of your design, we should realize what you did as a designer that solves that problem. Now, this one might be tailored to experienced designers, but could also work with junior designers. The next thing we look out for is impact. So whatever project you did, whether it was a website, a product, an interface, what happened when you launched, when you shipped it? What are the metrics that showed it was successful or not even successful? What did you learn from after launching? Also, if you're a junior designer and you have a project that maybe it's not in the real world, but you share the UI with your friends or family, your colleagues, what was their feedback? What did they like about it? What did they like about it? Did the design solve the problem? Did you think you were able to communicate it well? What was the impact of doing that design? That should also be documented in your portfolio. A lot of designers miss out on doing that, but it's super important. Another one as well is your style. So even if you have all these other things going for you, just because design is represented in so many different ways, we try to look for someone whose style aligns with our style or is something that we can see you doing in the future. For example, if you're someone that likes using 3D elements, heavy gradients, patterns, while that's good and might work for a certain clientele, if you're a minimalist designer, if you're a minimalist brand, you might be feeling uncomfortable about bringing in someone who has more of an out there style, which is not bad in itself because that person who has an out there style will find clients who want that. So it's all about finding who you're best suited for. The next thing we look out for, which is good but not super important, is your personality. So whenever you have a CV and a portfolio, you have a name and you have their works. But your personality is the thing in between. How do we look at this work and know it's something that so and so likes doing? Are you bringing some part of your personality into the project? Whenever you're talking about your project, try to think about your thoughts, your feelings. Who are you? Like, did you like what you were doing? Did you not like it? What part of the process did you enjoy most? Bring some of you into your work, especially when you're presenting it in your portfolio. It just makes me or any recruiter feel more comfortable to bring you onto the interview stage. Whenever you don't know the person, you're kind of hesitant on scheduling an interview, but we all know that an interview is where you genuinely get to know the person, but just that stage of going from portfolio to interview, yeah, once you already have a very small hint of your personality. The last one, which might seem to contradict what I said initially about niching down, is variety. So if you have a specific niche, maybe you do mobile apps for healthcare. While it's great that your portfolio could contain 3 projects that are mobile apps for different healthcare organizations, you might want to mix it up a little bit. Maybe one of them could be a mobile app for healthcare, the other one could be a desktop app for healthcare as well, and maybe the last one could be mobile app for logistics around healthcare. So I know you're someone who can move between different channels. Sometimes people want a specialist, which is great, but in the real world, whatever you're designing has to exist in multiple channels. So it's good to show that variety in your projects. I've seen some designers get hired off just one project, but I've also seen cases where they pick designers with multiple projects over that one designer. So it's always this thing that you want to balance. So I hope you got something from this video. I hope you get to many more interviews by looking at your portfolio. I need to always constantly revisit my portfolio and add new projects and take out some old projects, but that's good. We'll all get it together. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe, do all the things, and I'll see you in the next one.